Yes, our children, drink deep and feel the searing embrace of the first one. Now it is time for you to acquire what you came for.
The burning in your veins is but a moment of discomfort in your transition to the great beyond. Now we welcome you to your eternity. Drink deeply, have faith, and join us in this sermon.
Okay.
Bro, lock in.
Stop, I can't lock in. You're making me laugh.
I'm so sorry. Don't smile.
Welcome back to the Koolaid Stand. I'm Jett.
I'm Stephen.
And I've got you as my captive audience today.
I can't go anywhere, bro. I'm literally chained to my desk.
Do you love me for it?
Yeah, dude. Actually, I think I'm starting to come around. You know, I wasn't really cool with being like held hostage or taken advantage of in this way, but no, I think you're pretty chill.
Cool. Do you want to like?
In fact, I think I support your actions as a whole.
That's good. Do you want to help me take on the police that are trying to stop me from keeping you captive?
Yeah,
that's good,
for sure.
Because I needed help with that, frankly.
I'm not sure if that's because I like you or because I just hate pigs.
It's allowed to be both, you know. One can serve one could serve the other. Okay. The reason I started the episode this way is because I want to talk about actual Stockholm Syndrome this week, because I recently learned about sort of like the realities behind Stockholm Syndrome, and I thought they were fascinating, so I want to tell you about them.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody else about this episode that you're writing, and they were like entirely like they knew about this already, and I was like, am I just fucking late to the party or something? It's like,
I guess maybe we're
this?
both late to the party. I was kind of aware that it's based on a real life crime that happened, or the term is birthed from a real life crime that happened in Stockholm. I knew that much. Yeah. But I didn't know all the other ridiculous shit that we're about to go over.
Yeah.
But I also made an episode where I talked about Y2K and didn't realize how much of a real problem that was. And I was definitely late to the party on that. So
yeah.
If you're also late to the party, then you're going to have a good time today, I think.
From what you just kind of like quickly told me about it before, I was surprised already. And I'm interested to like be educated on the general, like, I guess, source of this. I almost called it a phenomenon. It's not even real. It's fucking crazy. Like,
yeah, we'll get there. Stockholm Syndrome isn't real. And I was honestly pretty happy when I started learning about Stockholm Syndrome for the episode, because I think the origin story and the concept itself are fascinating from start to finish. I kind of had the idea when I first heard somebody be like, yeah, it's not real. And then I looked more into it and I was like, this is a podcast episode for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I always thought about it just kind of like in a romantic sense. Like, how it's like romanticized is what I mean to say. Not like I think Stockholm Syndrome is romantic.
I think of it as a perk in Payday too.
Yeah, that too. Like, I don't know. You always hear about it and it's like someone's kidnapped or whatever, and they're held against their will and they like fall in love with their captor or whatever. And I was like, now that you mention it, I can't think of an actual example of this happening. Usually when people escape their captors, they're pissed off.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would be too.
And that was exactly what I had in my head. So I'm glad we were on the same page going into it. I think most people are probably somewhat aware of Stockholm Syndrome in that way and what it means. But they generally, I could be wrong, but they generally don't seem to have like a really clear definition in mind. And if that's you, don't worry, because as we'll talk about later in the episode, Stockholm Syndrome doesn't really have a clear definition, and it certainly isn't a diagnosable condition. As it turns out, Stockholm Syndrome might not exist at all, like we said, but we're going to save that discussion for the latter part of today's episode. I basically want to break it into two parts today. First, we're going to talk about the bank robbery that led to the coining of the term Stockholm Syndrome.
I love a robbery.
I love a robbery too. We're going to get a little bit of true crime action today. without any exploitation, I think.
Yeah.
And second, we're going to talk about the concept itself and why many modern researchers see the term as false and damaging.
Yeah.
So before we pretend to be psychologists, let's pretend to be true crime podcasters. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Man, you comparing this to true crime has kind of made me like rethink some, like, quickly, I guess, a concept. Because like we don't do true crime specifically because we find that to, in a way, be profiting off the damage that was already done to actual real people.
Right. Yeah.
But I love talking about robberies and in grand larceny in general. I think the reason that like that's fine to me is because it only harms an establishment that's already set up to fucking negatively impact us or hold us down anyway. No one's actually hurt except for the government.
Yeah.
When you rob a bank. I mean, I guess the people involved in the robbery may be pretty negatively impacted, like being taken hostage and stuff. But if you're chill with it seems so often that like when there's robberies, when you're chill with the people that you take hostage, like they don't mind it a ton. I don't know.
Yeah, we've had the true crime discussion before.
Yeah.
I think before I did the
Dyatlov Pass.
The Dyatlov Pass episode.
Yeah.
It's kind of difficult to know where to draw the line when you're trying not to be exploitative when you do that kind of story or that kind of content. Time is definitely part of it. This one happened in the 70s. But I feel like I feel pretty okay about this one because we're going to be talking specifically for a large part of the episode about how basically the victims were blamed for a large part of this and how that can still be negatively impactful.
Yeah, it's just something that I think someone asked me at some point along the way of like they would like to see more like true crime stuff. Like they like the Dyatlov Pass incident episode. And I was like, well, it's kind of a complicated thing for us. So no, it's always nice to see when something actually makes it through the filter and we can like talk about an actual crime that happens.
Yeah. And we get a bank robbery today, which is sick because we love those.
I love bank robberies. I love stealing shit.
So the term
I love
Stockholm,
taking from the rich. Sorry.
More Payday 2 references. So anyway, aside from being a perk in Payday 2, the term Stockholm Syndrome was coined after the 1973 Norrmalmstorg robbery. I'm just trying to pronounce these Swedish words. I'm going to give it my best college try. And in this robbery, 4 people were taken hostage during a bank robbery in Sweden's capital city, Stockholm.
Okay.
So let's begin by introducing one Clark Olofsson. Clark, who passed away just last year, was a Swedish career criminal. He was born in 1947. He would spend over half of his life locked up in several different Swedish prisons. Apart from the crime we'll be talking about today, his offenses included assault, robbery, drug smuggling, and attempted murder. So Clark is a pretty bad dude.
Storied individual.
Yeah. He's a pretty bad dude. There's no doubt about it. But I also, in learning about him, found it a little difficult to not have a bit of sympathy for him. And this is before he genuinely becomes like kind of like a famous gangster in Sweden, because Sweden doesn't really have that kind of thing in the same way that the United States does with like Al Capone type figures.
Yeah.
This guy is kind of the closest you get.
Okay.
So he did have a very rough childhood, though, which is usually defined in the media by his parents' severe alcohol abuse. As a result, Clark and his 2 younger sisters were placed into foster care at a young age. And it didn't take long for Clark to run away from his foster home and begin committing petty crimes. This sort of thing isn't very unusual,
Yeah.
And we know that part for certain. But what happened from there is a bit unclear to me. Clark's Wikipedia page says that he forged his mother's signature to get work on a ship at the age of 15. and that his work allowed him to travel the world and commit petty crimes without getting caught.
All right.
That whole story seems a bit extraordinary to me, but who knows, right? Maybe
It's also like 1962.
Yeah.
So
there's more 15-year-olds on ships for sure. And maybe there was a lesser version of this going on where he can like commit some crimes in a port and then they go somewhere else for work, and it's the 60s and they can't find him.
Yeah.
A podcast I listened to about Clark and his crimes claims that Clark simply lived in the countryside as a vagrant with other runaways. And while it seems more likely that he would have been stealing food and money to get by, this account also claimed that Clark was stealing his meals from the Prime Minister of Sweden's personal home and greenhouse. And that also seems a little bit extraordinary to me.
Sure,
So it's genuinely unclear to me what was going on with Clark during his early teenage years. So, you can take your pick. Maybe he was doing both. Maybe that's why he's such a famous gangster. The point, though, is that he was mostly on his own, and he was beginning to fall into a life of crime by doing thievery, basically.
Yeah, by having a life of crime.
Yes, he was falling into a life of crime by living his life crimefully.
I don't know. You mentioned that it's like it's hard not to feel a little bit of sympathy. I think as I get older, I have been feeling like more sympathy for individuals like this, where it's like, even some of the most vile people, it's like, damn, yeah, they're this way for a reason. And whether that reason's justified or not, and it'll never justify what they do and how monsterly they became. Like, it does suck, when it's like someone just had a shitty upbringing and then they didn't have a chance and then they resorted to this. And then he spent half his life in a fucking cage like an animal. And that, like, regardless of what he did, that's not a human life.
Yeah. And it's not maybe an excuse for some of the things he does, especially the attempted murder bits.
Sure.
But like the pattern is clear, right? And you can feel sympathy for the pattern and the way that he ended up in these situations. And like you said, especially a person, regardless of what they do, being locked away for most of their life is pretty fucking brutal.
Yeah.
So one way or another, Clark, around this time, when he's a teenager, gets placed into an institution for young offenders, basically a Swedish version of juvenile detention. However, Clark would escape from the institution along with several other boys that were being kept there. And after a few months as a juvenile criminal on the run, he started to become more violent in the crimes he was committing, even assaulting 2 police officers. And his crimes were starting to stack up as well. And he was eventually caught again. I don't know specifically what for, but I think they kind of turned up the heat on him after he started assaulting police officers, as the police tend to do.
Yeah.
And in 1966, having been implicated in violence against the police, he was given what would have been considered a relatively harsh sentence, which was 3 years in prison. I'm pretty sure this is at the point where he's not old enough that they should normally be putting him in prison. He's kind of like getting tried as an adult, right?
Okay. Yeah, and we don't know exactly what the reason you gave the different options is because like we don't really know why he ended up in juvie, or what we would call juvie. But
yeah,
like,
I'm not exactly
right?
sure. And then he breaks out and assaults police officers, and they go, "Okay, we're going to put you in big boy prison now.
Real jail now, kid." Okay.
And in the same year as his sentencing, Clark escapes actual big boy prison.
Yeah.
So he's already escaped his juvenile detention center, and now he's escaped real prison. But later,
this guy can't be held down.
No, he cannot. He's going to do it again. Later that same year, he and another man were caught in the act by 2 police officers while burglarizing a retail store. And in an attempt to escape, Clark's partner shot and killed one of the responding police officers. While he wasn't the one who pulled the trigger, Clark was sentenced to another 8 years in prison for his role in burglary, sort of an accessory to murder kind of deal.
That seems a little intense, but all right.
I'm sure the escaping also had something to do with this.
Sure, yeah.
So in 1969, about 3 years into his sentence, Clark managed to escape prison again.
He's like, nah, actually, I don't want to do 8 years.
I'm going to do 3 and then I'm good.
Take him or leave him. And I'm leaving him.
He's like, you gave me 3 the first time. I'll do those 3, but I'm not doing the other ones. And this time, he does not stick around. He fled to the Canary Islands, which is off the coast of Morocco, northern Africa. He was later arrested in Germany while still on the run, and he was sent back to prison in Sweden when he gets caught in Germany. Clark served almost his entire sentence this time, but with only 2 months remaining, he escapes prison again.
Okay. I mean, I would have just thugged it out, but like, damn, this guy cannot be contained.
With
what the
2
fuck
months left.
This guy's an SCP, dog.
I know. Yeah, right. What's the containment level on Clark Olofsson?
What the fuck? That's crazy.
Like 4 escapes already.
Jeez.
And he can't even sit out the last 2 months and get released. He just has to escape.
Gotta leave on his own terms.
And he spends around 7 months on the run after that latest escape. He remained in Sweden this time, and he even managed to successfully rob a bank while on the run. He was eventually caught once again and was sentenced to an additional 6 years in prison in 1973. And this would arguably be his most consequential stint in prison, as he would meet another inmate named Jan Olsson.
Jan Zhuzka.
Oh no, he's back.
He's back. Dude, I don't know why you'd stay in Sweden. Like,
he does
this
that
is a time
after 2 of these escapes. He stays in the country.
Just a time in the world where like you could do some heinous shit and then like disappear and change and just say you have a different name and you'd be fine. Like you just go anywhere else and no one would be looking for you. Like, I don't understand why you wouldn't just do that. I mean, retrospective or, you know, hindsight's 2020, but like you could do that shit in the US. You could commit heinous crimes in one state and then just like move like 2 states in and then you're good to go.
Yeah.
Like
clearly the security level isn't that high in Sweden either with these escape rates. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think maybe he's just like sticking around and getting caught repeatedly because he can't help but like keep robbing things whenever he escapes.
Well, yeah, because when you go to prison, well, then you've been to prison and no one wants to employ you. So then you got to rob to eat. When it's time to eat a meal, you got to rob and steal. You know what I'm saying? And
That's right. That's right.
And then you get put to prison again, and then you spent more time in prison. So then employers really don't want you, and then it's time to eat again, and you need to rob, and yeah, it's just like it's a never ending cycle.
Yeah, it's not good. This guy also seems to just want to commit crimes also.
Yeah, okay, there's that too. This guy just
with the bank robberies and shit.
Regular old crime committer.
I mean, like I said, people in Sweden see this guy eventually as kind of like a famous gangster because of these escapades. So
yeah, and he's kind of thuggish. Like he's not really being clever with his larceny.
No, and when he robs banks, he's sticking them up. He's not doing fancy stealth heists or anything like that.
Yeah.
So he goes to prison again, 1973. He meets Jan Olsson. Jan was about 5 or 6 years older than Clark, and he was serving time for theft in the same prison as Clark. The pair became friendly, although Clark certainly looks down on Jan in retrospect. I watched a documentary, and Clark is constantly calling Jan, like they have interviews with both of these guys, and Clark, they're separate interviews, and Clark is constantly calling Jan a fucking idiot and talking about how stupid he is, and oh, he was obsessed with me because I was just so cool, kind of thing.
What the fuck?
And Jan was one of these. He was definitely one of these people who saw Clark as like a celebrity to him, I guess, because he was also a criminal, and sort of a mentor. He was kind of obsessed with Clark's crimes, especially his bank robberies. He's like really into this guy's ability to successfully rob a bank.
Oh man, not to talk about the prison industrial complex too much, but this is something that's a lot of career criminals state is like probably the best thing to happen to you after you commit a crime and fail is you end up going to prison. Or then you are with a bunch of other people that have also committed similar crimes and have also failed, and now you guys know how to fucking do crimes that do not fail.
You guys can all compare notes and shit.
Yeah. Well, no, people do say this, and then like your crimes you want to commit get more fantastical. This is an interesting note I wanted to put out. Also, propensity to rob banks. Didn't he like rob 1 or 2 banks?
I don't know how many he robbed. I think he's done at least a couple successful bank robberies. One way or another, Jan thinks he's really cool, and he's like, "Those banks you robbed, that was sick.
It was sick as fuck.
Yeah, you gotta like teach me how to do that." So Jan gets furlough.
Okay.
So he's out on a special leave from prison. And while he's out on furlough, Jan returns to the prison in an attempt to help Clark make yet another escape. Clark had somehow managed to smuggle dynamite into the prison.
What?
So he's in prison and he's got dynamite.
He's got a bomb.
Yes, he's in prison and he has a bomb. And what he's supposed to do is blow a hole in the outer wall. And Jan, who is on furlough, is going to wait outside in a getaway car. He's going to blow a hole in the wall. Clark's going to get in the car and they're going to escape together. But the dynamite failed to ignite and the whole escape attempt failed. And fatefully, this meant that Jan remained on furlough without anyone knowing what he had attempted. And he's still out here wanting to get Clark out of prison.
All right.
So this is where the real fun begins. On the morning of August 23rd, 1973, while still on furlough, Jan walked into the Kreditbanken Bank in Stockholm's Norrmalmstorg Square. Do you like the name Kreditbanken?
Fucking German.
This is Swedish.
Well, this is Swedish?
Yeah, this is
Sorry,
Swedish.
I was thinking Switzerland. Yep, Swedish as well.
Kreditbanken.
Kreditbanken.
Kreditbanken Bank. So anyway, he walks into the bank. He's wearing a long wig, sunglasses, and makeup, and he's putting on an unconvincing American accent.
Okay.
He's also armed with a submachine gun.
Okay.
Upon entering the bank, Jan fired his weapon into the ceiling and shouted something along the lines of, "The party has just begun." I've heard it translated a few different ways, which makes me think he doesn't know how to say it in English correctly.
Okay.
And he's pretending to be an American. He then set up a radio in an attempt to stay informed on the police activity outside of the bank, and he took 4 hostages. These hostages were Brigitte Lundblad, who's 31, Elizabeth Oldgren, 21, Kristen Enmark, 23, and Sven Sofström, who's 24. So,
all right. It started like a Reddit post.
Yeah, right. Sven Sofström, M24.
M24.
They're all pretty young, though, is the point I'm trying to make.
Who was the asshole here? Okay, yeah, got it.
While Jan was establishing his presence in the bank, a silent alarm gets tripped, I think, by one of the employees. And the police responded very quickly to this, but not in force since they were not yet aware of the full extent of the situation. So 2 officers arrived to respond to the silent alarm, and Jan opened fire on them. One of the officers was hit in the hand, and they retreated to call for backup. This would be the beginning of a 6-day siege.
Damn.
Yeah. And this is like, I think I'm going to talk about it in my script in a bit, but this is the early 70s. We don't really have proper like negotiation tactics for these kind of crises. So yeah, they don't know how to resolve it super quickly or effectively.
Yeah.
And
6 days is crazy.
Yeah, it's a long fucking time, and the hostages are in there with him that entire time.
Stinky and hungry and thirsty.
Oh yeah, very stinky, very shitty. They get locked in a small room later. So with the police now surrounding the building, Jan made his demands. He wanted 3 million Swedish crowns, which is roughly $320,000 USD.
Okay.
He wants a Ford Mustang with a full tank of gas.
All right.
He wants bulletproof vests and helmets. He wants 2 pistols. He wants two. Keep that in mind. And strangely, he wanted his good friend, Clark, to be removed from prison and brought to him inside of the bank.
What the fuck?
So
Clark's like, I just met this guy.
yeah, in this documentary I watched, he seems to think this guy is kind of an idiot who's just like a little bit too into him, you know?
Yeah.
Jan then wanted the police to allow him and Clark to drive away, taking two hostages with them to ensure their safety. So given the two pistol demand, you can kind of tell that from the jump, it's his plan to have Clark show up, help him rob the bank, and then escape with him.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sure you'll remember that Clark's latest escape attempt had just failed, even though he had a bomb, and he was still stuck in prison on charges of armed robbery and accessory to murder.
So he wants them to put him in a position to armedly rob and possibly be another accessory to another murder.
That is correct. It's a foolproof plan. For 6 whole days, it's a foolproof plan.
Yeah, he's got it.
Like I said before, at this time, the standards for crisis negotiation that we're familiar with today hadn't really been developed yet. Stockholm also had a relatively low crime rate, so the police were unprepared and did not know what to expect or how to react in a situation like this. As a result, they made what seems like a very odd choice by today's standards. The police decided to meet all of Jan's demands except one. They gave him everything he asked for, even pulling Clark out of prison and sending him into the bank where a live hostage situation was occurring.
What the fuck?
They pull basically like the country's most famous criminal, or one of them, out of prison. He's already escaped prison many times. The police get him, take him to the bank, and go, okay, you can go in and help.
What the fuck? Dude, the cops hate this one simple trick.
So
that shit is crazy.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I just don't understand how they get to this decision. I know I've got recency bias on like how these kind of things are negotiated today, and American police and military essentially refusing to negotiate anything with people like this. But like I said, there is one demand that they decide that they're not going to meet under any circumstances. And that demand is that they're not going to allow Jan and Clark to take hostages with them in the getaway car. They do provide the Ford Mustang getaway car.
Okay.
But you can't put any hostages in it. That's not allowed.
Not allowed. Also, like they have 4 hostages. There's 2 of them. There's only really 2 more seats in that thing. So like,
yeah, their plan is to take 2 of the 4 hostages with them as collateral, basically.
Okay.
But Jan, Clark thinks he's pretty dumb, right? But Jan is smart enough that he goes, you know, if they're not going to let me take the hostages outside to the getaway car, the police are just going to shoot me when I go outside. Yep. So he hunkers down with Clark and his 4 hostages because he understands well enough that he cannot leave the bank without getting shot.
It's like, well, that was one major part of my plan is I needed 2 human shields each, and they won't. They're saying no. So
right. And also the police, they don't have a good strategy for controlling the media at this time. That's also not part of a developed strategy or doctrine for crisis negotiation.
Yeah.
So the entire event is being broadcast on live TV and radio. The police were regularly speaking with the media about their plans and what knowledge they had of the situation inside. As a result, Jan's radio was proving to be very, very useful to him. So they're like letting TV cameras in the street film this entire situation. The police are giving interviews. Jan is fully aware, along with Clark, that there are snipers watching the building and all this kind of stuff. They know that they cannot leave without getting shot. It's like, of course this is going to turn into a siege.
Yeah, so these days, cops would be like, the situation is still ongoing in development. We're doing the best we can.
Can't
There's
make
people
any further
inside,
comment at this time.
Can't say anything else. Yeah, that's what it would be.
Yeah, they're also going to
so
give
this is like,
really
yeah, actually, we've got-
limited access to media. They're going to keep them way back from the scene.
Except now this time it's like, oh yeah, we have 4 people, 4 snipers on the roof. They're all watching these locations.
Yeah,
yeah. Actually, it'd be really bad if they did this.
Yeah. And Jan and Clark inside the bank, and the hostages along with them, are also sparingly in contact directly with the police as the first day of the siege is coming to an end. They're getting on the phone with them and talking with them a little bit. On the second day, the media began reporting on developing dynamics inside the bank that seemed a bit odd. The hostages were they know this from the phone calls. The hostages are on a first name basis with the robbers and were seemingly trying to protect the robbers from the police. That day, Swedish Prime Minister Olof Palme made a speech regarding the robbery, which aired over the radio. He reinforced the stance that no hostages would be allowed to leave with the robbers, and he openly expresses that it was difficult for them to make decisions on how to handle the situation, which doesn't inspire confidence. And the hostages, along with the robbers, are hearing all of this live on their radio that they have.
Yeah. So, yeah, they're like they don't get to leave with them. Also, we don't know what we're really doing. And of course, the hostages are like, okay, awesome. So the cops are probably going to shoot us.
Yeah, exactly. The hostages are likely hearing this and going, well, fucking great. I feel really confident in how the authorities are handling this situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, well, I might as well just make nights with the fucking robbers because they could at least not put me in danger.
Yeah. It's a fucking survival situation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they are frustrated by Prime Minister Palme's response. And the hostages decide that they would like to express their frustration. So Jan and Clark allowed one of them to call the Prime Minister personally. So,
hey, Mr. President.
one of them calls like his office basically and goes, I'm one of the hostages. I'd like to speak to the Prime Minister. And this phone call between Palme and 23-year-old Kristen Enmark, who becomes like the most famous hostage in the case, largely because of this. Her phone call with the Prime Minister is one of the most famous aspects of the robbery. During the phone call, Enmark expressed her frustration with the police response and their unwillingness to negotiate. The police had made it clear that if the robbers didn't surrender, then they were going to go on the attack. And Enmark told Palme, quote, I'm very disappointed in you. I think you are sitting here playing with our lives. She went on to say that, quote, I am not the least bit afraid of Clark and the other guy. I'm afraid of the police. Do you understand?
Damn.
Yeah.
I'm not mad, Mr. President. I'm just disappointed.
Also, the media is going, these guys are all on a first name basis, but she doesn't know Jan's name.
Yeah, Clark.
I'd like to point that out, and this is made
enough.
Clear in other parts of what she says too. She doesn't know Jan's name until later, so the media is already getting a bit ahead of themselves. While this sort of response may not be entirely rational, because she is outwardly siding with her captors and saying, "I'm really disappointed in you. I'm afraid of you." These things kind of make sense, but the response to be like, I trust these guys, it does seem a little irrational, right?
Yeah, I guess.
But while that might be the case, I hardly think you can expect rational behavior from someone who is being held hostage.
Yeah, no.
This is a person in crisis. And yep. I can certainly understand why Enmark would have been afraid of the police getting her killed.
Yeah.
Because they're talking about attacking the building and they haven't even tried anything else yet.
Yeah, it's like either you take our deal or we're just gonna start blasting. Honestly, well, let's be real. I'm gonna start blasting. Like,
yeah,
no, yeah. If I was a hostage, I'd be like, can we not start blasting? Actually, can
right?
we not do that?
And part of her is probably like, these guys have been pretty okay to us. Like, they're probably willing to negotiate. We can probably get out of this. I don't know how rationally and clearly she's thinking about this. You obviously can't blame her if she isn't. But
no.
I think I understand where she's coming from.
Yeah.
But regardless, the media only cared about the other stranger parts of Enmark's phone call with the Prime Minister. Only a small snippet of Enmark's call was published, and there were two specific lines that people latched onto. There was one line where Enmark stated that the robbers had actually been very nice to them, and that the hostages were actually having a nice time together. In the second line, Enmark said that she fully trusted the robbers and wanted to leave with them to avoid police intervention. Rather than recognizing the reality of Enmark's situation and addressing her very real concerns, the media focused in further on her irrational behavior. What could the robbers have done to make their hostages so friendly and sympathetic towards them?
It's just like, if you just, I don't know, if I was in that situation, I'd be like, if you just let them fucking steal the money that the government can just put back, I could walk away with my life. If you just let them fucking do this and let me get out of the fucking way, I can live. I get to live.
Yeah.
Like,
and I imagine part of her being like, I want to leave with these guys instead of you attacking the bank is like, something might happen to me if I leave with these guys, but they've been pretty cool to me so far. And if I leave with them, I save the rest of the hostages.
Yeah. Or just in general, it's like, if we just let them fucking execute their plan, I'm not in danger.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to kill me. Like, you already know who they are. It's like, just let them leave. Yeah. I mean, I don't really blame her, honestly.
No, I don't either. And I don't think anybody should. But the media narrative at this point is they're getting along. They're having a grand old time in there. Are they getting brainwashed by these robbers to be on their side? That's the narrative outside the bank. So these parts of the call, they're definitely a bit odd, but it's also important to note that there could be about 45 minutes missing from the phone call that's available to listen to. I believe less than 10 minutes were actually made available, despite the call going on for almost an hour, according to all of the hostages and both robbers inside.
Dang.
The Prime Minister had an election coming up soon and apparently handled the call very poorly. This could be the reason that so much of the audio is made unavailable and part of the reason that Enmark is sort of aggressive towards him in the sections that we do get to hear.
Yeah.
Clark and Enmark, the hostage who makes the phone call, both claim that Prime Minister Palma at one point told Enmark that she should be proud to die at her post.
Brother.
She is a victim of a
God.
bank robbery and hostage situation. This is not military service, man.
Dude, also, it's not that big of a deal. Like, how much money do you know how much money was even at play here?
I don't know how much is in the bank, but he goes in and his demand is equivalent to like a little bit over 300,000 USD, which they give to him.
Big fucking whoop, man. Like, yeah. This sucks.
They do give him the money, but it's in an attempt to get him to walk out of the bank and shoot him.
Yeah. Yes.
So the media's focus had turned mostly towards the odd, seemingly friendly dynamic that was developing between the robbers and the hostages. Another detail that was being widely reported involved the robbers allowing bathroom breaks for the hostages. Because on the second day of the siege, the robbers had retreated into one of the bank vaults with their hostages. Two police officers entered the bank behind them unnoticed and sealed the vault door, trapping everybody inside. So I'm unsure why they decided that this was a good idea, but they do this. And after some time, Jan and Clark decide to let the women hostages leave the vault one at a time so that they could use a real toilet.
Yeah.
During these trips outside the vault, any one of the women could have simply walked out of the bank to safety. The bank is part of like a larger building. So when they leave, they can walk up the stairs to the second floor where there are police and they can just leave the situation.
Okay.
However, they always returned back to their captors willingly after using the restroom. The public saw this and they were dumbfounded as to why the hostages were actively ignoring their chance to escape. What they didn't know, or maybe weren't being told, was that the robbers had threatened to kill one of the other women if they did not return to the vault.
Ah, okay.
So to me, this isn't particularly surprising that none of the hostages chose to take that risk in this situation, because they're trying to protect the other people that they're in this survival situation with.
No, fair enough.
There's only 3 of them. It's not a very large
Yep.
sample size. I wouldn't have been surprised if this went the other way and one of them did decide to leave. It's just in this situation, they all decided to, like, I don't want to take the risk of being responsible for these guys shooting one of the other people I'm in here with.
I'd also be willing to make the argument that if it was like a ton of people all at once, then it's easier to be disconnected from the group. Whereas like when it's kind of close quarters and there's only a couple of you, like you kind of start like getting pretty attached to each other.
Yeah.
So I would argue that they probably care more about their co-hostages in this instance, because it's like they personally have spent a lot of time in this really shitty situation together with them. And yeah, I mean, I don't really blame them for making that decision either. I also personally, I wouldn't want to fucking be responsible for the death of somebody just to save my skin.
No, I mean, like I said, if somebody else was hostage, they might have decided that risk was worth it. But these 3 people decide it's not worth it. I don't think it's not that surprising to me.
Yeah, no.
But it becomes a big deal in the media coverage. Another detail that would later be focused on was a threat that Jan made against the only male hostage, Sven. In an attempt to get the police to back off, Jan threatened to shoot Sven. But privately, Jan told Sven that he would only shoot him in the leg. He's going to superficially injure Sven to scare the police, basically. But he tells Sven, like, I don't want to actually, like, do something that's going to kill you, so I'm going to shoot you in the leg. Which is some weird shit, but...
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, he cares for the hostage or whatever. Sven later recalled in an interview about the event that he felt at the time that Jan was being kind and generous by offering to only shoot him in the leg. They're locked in a vault. He could have just shot the gun and Sven could have gone, my leg.
Yeah.
But he didn't know why he felt that way looking back on the situation. Similarly, Kristen and Mark encouraged Sven to go along with the plan, saying, come on, it's only in the leg. And Enmark said in a documentary video that she thinks this is the worst thing that she has ever said to another human being.
Yeah, fair enough.
And that she regrets it and she does not know why she said it. But again,
you're all under extreme duress.
These are people in crisis. They're not thinking straight. We have to remember that. Jan did not end up shooting Sven, and he later says in an interview that he simply could not bring himself to do it.
Aw.
So while the media was busy reporting on these unusual interpersonal dynamics, the police had developed a plan to drill holes through the top of the vault from the floor above. Remember, I said it's part of a larger building and the cops are on the floor above them.
To what? Gas all the fucking hostages at the same time?
Yes. That's correct.
Oh my God.
This was on the 3rd day of the siege. They were planning to flood the vault with tear gas while the hostages were still inside. To make matters worse, this plan had been openly broadcast over the radio. So Jan and Clark were fully aware of this plan before the drilling even started.
I did not read ahead. I was just thinking of the stupidest, worst thing that they could do to these poor hostages in the 70s. And
yep.
Dog.
Yep. They're going to flood a sealed bank vault with tear gas with everybody still inside.
These guys main fuse in Rainbow Six Siege.
Oh, Jesus.
Collateral Damage. I never heard of her.
Bro, you killed the hostage again.
Oh my God.
Rainbow Six Siege having better ethics than the cops.
Crazy shit.
So when the drilling began, the robbers, because they know that the drilling is coming, they place the hostages under the holes in an attempt to deter the police. This is their first solution. The idea was that the section of the vault ceiling that fell through would crush the hostages, and the police would get blamed for crushing the hostages, and the police would realize this and stop drilling. The police keep drilling anyway. And the robbers ended up actually moving the hostages just before they would have been hurt, because they end up not wanting the hostages to be crushed. Whether this is because they're going to lose their collateral or because they're starting to care about these people as humans, it's probably a mixture of both, right?
Yeah.
Clark later said that he moved the hostages, though, because he did not want to see them get hurt. After the drilling was complete, Jan decided to fire his submachine gun at the police through the holes in the ceiling. He did hit one detective in the arm and face, but the detective survived the shooting. The police were still planning to go ahead with their gas attack after this, so the robbers came up with a new plan. They tied ropes around the hostages' necks so that they would be strangled if the gas knocked them unconscious. It's set up so that if they are conscious and upright, they're fine. But if they go unconscious, they'll slump down and it'll choke them. And this tactic was effective in extending the standoff for a while, because the police,
these poor people,
the police this time are kind of like, well, yeah, we'll that would kind of be on us.
Not crushing them with the fucking ceiling panels.
So this goes on for a couple more days like this, with the holes drilled in the ceiling, but the cops aren't doing anything with the holes yet, except for they stick a camera down through the holes to get pictures to try to see what's going on. And then 6 days into the siege, the police decided to go ahead with their gas plan.
Awesome.
They began pumping tear gas into the vault, and before long, the robbers were forced to surrender. Thankfully, nobody was knocked unconscious, and none of the hostages sustained long-term injuries because the robbers opened the door to the vault. Or I think they surrendered and the police opened the door to the vault. But one way or another, they let the police in before the gas kills anybody or knocks anybody unconscious.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure if you get like stuck in tear gas for an extended period of time, that shit does like brain damage, like permanent brain damage.
It could do serious damage, or it could burn your lungs. Like it could cause nasty shit to your mucous membranes. Also, I'm certain it's a carcinogen. So,
it's gotta be
all kinds of awful, not good shit.
So the police swarmed the bank after they surrendered, and they arrest Jan and Clark, and they took the hostages away on stretchers. The whole thing, this whole arrest and storming of the bank, gets recorded by news crews, and the police could be seen beating the shit out of one of the robbers while the hostages called for police not to hurt their captors.
Oh my God, dude.
So this whole thing where they're going, don't hurt them, they didn't do anything to us. This is just more fuel for the media frenzy, obviously. Why would the hostages be trying to protect Jan and Clark even after being rescued? I mean, these guys put up the hostages as human collateral on 2 separate occasions. So don't they deserve to get beaten up a little bit?
I mean, it's an interesting question. I'm super excited to dig in. I think part of this has to do with the fact that they all did just spend like 6 days together, 24/7, like, hanging out. Like,
yeah, I also think that's a large part of it.
They had their job to do, right? And by job, I mean they had their robbery to conduct, so they still had to do what they had to do. But like, it seems like at least at every step of the instance, it's like a just business, man. So sorry, I gotta put this noose on you. And he's like, oh no, it's fine, whatever.
I gotta like, shoot you in the leg, but it's just the leg.
Okay, at least it's just the leg.
So after their arrest, Jan and Clark were both charged for bank robbery. Keep in mind, with Clark's charge, that the police put him in there.
Yeah.
So that he could help rob the bank. They said, go rob this bank. How dare you rob that bank?
They put a gun in my hand, and then they asked me to rob the bank, and then they gassed me. Like... Or whatever Swedish people sound like.
So Jan, who started the robbery, received a 10-year sentence. But Clark actually did get acquitted of any crimes related to the robbery.
Okay.
He's still got these other charges that he was already serving time for, but he gets acquitted of anything to do with this robbery. For one thing, like I said, the police pulled him out of prison and put him into the situation. There's also no evidence still, and I believe this, that Clark
I believe
was in on the plan at all. This was Jan and the police's doing. They are the reason that Clark ends up in the bank.
Bro, I'm out here feeling bad for Clark.
Right? At every turn somehow. And Clark,
He was the secret fifth hostage.
yeah. And Clark in court, he argued that he spent his time inside, not robbing the bank, but trying to keep Jan under control and trying to stop the situation from escalating any further. I think this is true to an extent.
Sure.
The hostages, though, they actually do testify on his behalf. And as you expect, the police aren't very happy about this. And the media is like, see, the hostages like these guys. It's weird.
That actually might be another element to like why they wouldn't want, because you didn't say which one of them was getting beaten, but like maybe even the hostages were like, dog, he's just here. It's you put him here. Don't beat him.
Yeah, I didn't say because I'm not sure. I saw the video of it, but I couldn't tell which one of them it was.
Sure.
So the media had built up this perceived friendly relationship between the robbers and hostages, and the police were going to capitalize on that narrative. So they brought in a psychiatrist named Nils Bayero. I don't know about that last name. But they bring him in to help analyze the victims' reactions to being held hostage. This kind of thing isn't uncommon to have like a psychiatric evaluation done for somebody who's been in a crisis like this, but it's extremely important to note that this guy never met, spoke to, or interacted in any way with any of the hostages.
Okay.
And yet, he would go on to publicly diagnose them on TV with a brand new condition that he had just invented called Stockholm Syndrome.
Awesome. Thanks, Nils.
Yeah, thanks, Nils. Fuck you, man. You
don't even deserve to have your last
Freudian
name.
little freak.
You Freudian little freak.
So he said that the hostages had become incapable of acting rationally and that they had been brainwashed by their captors. He even went so far as to suggest that they had fallen in love with their captors and couldn't bear to see any harm come to them. The police would use this explanation to justify their poor handling of the crisis, essentially blaming the brainwashed hostages for not accepting their help and hindering their work. This is some bullshit. This is some real bullshit. And I think with that, it's time to talk about the concept of Stockholm Syndrome itself and why it is some bullshit.
Yeah. Okay.
So the first issue that I have found with Stockholm Syndrome is that it was essentially invented from nothing. And to this day, there is no validated diagnostic criteria at all. It's not in the DSM either.
So it's okay. So it's just not fucking real. And I don't
not
take
as
the DSM
a mental
as
illness.
No, I don't think the DSM is like a be all end all. But like, also, this is it's just fucking made up. I hate it when psychiatrists get involved to shit and then they sit in their armchair that like they're technically qualified to have, but then just do some armchair psychiatry where they're like, yeah, it's Stockholm Syndrome or whatever the fuck. Like,
I don't even need to talk to them. I can tell.
I'm a professional. Like, awesome.
So, I listened to a podcast done by these two forensic psychologists, and they mentioned this study that I looked up. This is a 2008 study that looked at all the major psychology journal databases in an attempt to find potential cases of Stockholm Syndrome. And among all of the entries in all of these databases, this study finds only 12 papers about cases of Stockholm Syndrome that could not easily be ruled out as something else.
Okay.
And this study came up with only 4 common threads between those 12 papers. I'm assuming this has got to be like hundreds or thousands of papers.
Sure.
Where they're like, this could be Stockholm Syndrome. But between the 12, they come up with 4 common threads that could maybe be criteria for Stockholm Syndrome. One is that the victims received direct threats from their captors. 2 is that the victims were kept in isolation. 3 is that the victims had an opportunity to escape and did not take it. And 4 is that the victims showed sympathy for their captors. And of these 4 common threads, I would say that the first 3 they're just like facts regarding the cases. They're not criteria for a condition.
We're talking just involves.
We're talking a hostage gets threatened by their captor.
Breaking news.
That's just a fact of the case.
Yep.
The hostage gets kept in isolation. Also just a fact of many hostage cases.
Yep.
And that the victims had an opportunity to escape and did not take it. Oftentimes hostages are allowed to do something or maybe have a chance to escape and don't do it because it's too risky, or they don't believe they can do it without getting caught and killed or something like that.
Yeah. Or there's extenuating circumstance. Like, this doesn't include the circumstance of why they made that decision.
Exactly. Which we have in this case with the bathroom breaks.
Yeah.
And their decision follows to me. So
yeah.
So in that case, the only common thread that we can maybe use as a criteria to like diagnose something is that victims show sympathy for their captors. And that's not enough. That's not enough for anything.
Yeah, no. Also, like, God forbid someone has humanity. And they're like,
right.
Yeah, it's like,
I mean, that's part of it. These people are like holed up together. They're stuck together. Like,
yeah, you have to connect or you go fucking crazy anyway.
Yeah,
so
people get to know each other in these situations. I don't think that's avoidable.
Okay, so there's no real common through line for any possible cases of Stockholm Syndrome.
And the FBI feels this way as well.
Okay.
They do have 3 factors that they relate to Stockholm Syndrome, but to be fair to the FBI, and I won't say that very often, you don't have to hand it to them, but to be fair to them in this situation, they do not recognize it as a diagnosable condition. They have these 3 factors as a tool in forensic psychology to establish potential patterns of behavior. So they use these things to sort of predict how a victim of a crisis situation might behave.
All right.
Which can be useful if you're trying to figure out how to help somebody, or like find somebody too, like a hostage and you don't know where they are. Understanding patterns of behavior is very helpful.
Sure.
So number 1 is that the hostage shows positive feelings towards their captor. Number 2 is that the hostage shows distress and anger directed toward the authorities. And number 3 is that the perpetrators show sympathy for their hostages as they spend more time with them. And I think that last part is pretty important.
Yeah, they're hitting on that, like, when you are stuck in a small area, confined in a stressful situation with people, you bond with them. That's just how it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think that those sorts of behaviors could definitely just be the result of people being holed up together and being put in a survival situation together. Like, this siege lasts a week. These people spend almost 5 of those 6 days in a single bank vault together.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to get to know each other as human beings instead of anonymous strangers. It was like you were talking about with a potential situation where there's many more hostages. They might be more anonymous to each other. People might be more willing to try to make an escape because they don't get to know the people that they could be harming as humans. Like, it's hard. It's not easy for most people to do terrible things to people that they know on a personal and human level.
Yeah, crazy. It's almost like that's just part of being human. You're all in a traumatic experience together. Yes, some people incurred this traumatic experience upon you, but like, I don't know. I feel like people kind of always manage to try and make the best out of shitty situations.
Trauma causes people to act weird ways, obviously.
That too.
But like, I think this makes sense. And to reinforce that point, Jan even said in an interview after the robbery that he could have easily killed the hostages at the beginning of the robbery. But he thought that became more difficult over time as he got to know them. He didn't feel like he could have done it anymore.
Okay.
So he basically said that, like, yeah, I could have shot and killed these people like when I walked into the bank if that was what I felt like I needed to do. But after I spent 6 days with them, I don't think I could have done that anymore.
Yeah, as soon as like you can apply the humanity to a person and you're not able to disconnect that, it's fucking impossible.
So
This is interesting. Some people who like raise animals, if they get too close to their pet, like their animals, they start to become pets. They sell them off instead because they can't like, at least I was told this by a Mexican vaquero, like a Mexican cowboy. And he was like, sometimes, we like the cattle too much and we have to sell them away because I can't look at them in the eyes when I do that to them.
Yeah, it's like even a movie trope where they're trying to like harden somebody up and they're like, name this chicken, raise it,
now kill it,
and then kill it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got to give it a name, right?
Yeah,
So this is the quote that Jan has. They, meaning the police, made it hard to kill. They made us go on living together day after day like goats in that filth. There was nothing to do but get to know each other. So I think that reinforces that point pretty well. Like I said, I also have another problem with Stockholm Syndrome as a concept, and that is that the origin of the term carries a pretty harmful and blameful connotation with it.
Specifically for the victims.
Yes, exactly. I think it was invented by a psychiatrist who was fucking full of himself, and he was helping the police to justify their actions instead of trying to do his actual job.
Yeah, this is like the court version of like the guy on Pawn Stars calling in his like fucking professional lowballer guy.
I got a guy for that.
yeah, like yeah, we have a guy to lowball these victims.
I have a victim blaming guy. I got a guy who guy who invents mental illnesses. He'll be here in a few minutes. The label, it's used to victim blame the hostages in this situation. It's used to blame them for their trauma and stress responses.
Yeah, as a way to get the cops out of the sights of the court for how they handled the situation.
Yeah. And you were coming up with the worst handling of the situation you could think of earlier, and you were spot on with the gas attack.
You added... Yeah, I know. And also, you added another criminal to the circus. What are you guys doing? You gave them guns.
They did give them 2 extra guns and bulletproof armor.
Yeah, dude, they're like, hey, we're about to gas this room. Hey, can we get 4 ropes? Yeah, sure. I don't know what they need those for, but here you go. Like, they may as well just... God damn.
So Kristen Enmark, who was the hostage who spoke to the prime minister on the phone, she's spoken quite a bit about this whole event later in her life, and she expressed that she spent 40 plus years feeling like something was wrong with her, and that she had developed this mental condition that made the whole event worse for everybody else because of how she acted. And none of this is her fault whatsoever. Like, a mental health diagnosis should never be coupled with blame.
Yeah, never.
And
yeah, but this diagnosis is invented to blame somebody.
Exactly. Yeah.
It literally cannot be real. Like it's an instrument of accusation. Mental diagnoses do not do that.
No, they do not, and they should never. And even if the hostages were acting irrationally, I've said it 3 to 5 times already, but you cannot expect someone to behave irrationally when they're being held hostage.
No.
And again, why would you use a label that blames them for acting strangely during a traumatic situation? You can't do that, man.
No.
I even think you can understand the process behind a lot of the hostages' decision making in this.
Yeah,
in this particular case.
We sat here rationalizing most of their decisions. Like,
yeah, the police.
They seem pretty reasonable to me.
The police were putting them at risk, for sure. So I understand why they were afraid of the cops. I understand how the nature of Enmark's call with the prime minister would have been really frustrating for her, especially hearing his speech on the radio beforehand.
You should die. You should be proud to die. Like, okay, fucker.
And we understand the bathroom thing. We've talked about that. We understand why they would come back from those bathroom breaks. I can see why they would want to leave in the robber's getaway car too, because like at least you're not going to be stuck in that fucking bank vault anymore, and you're going to be saving the hostages that get left behind.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is why many people take issue with the concept of Stockholm Syndrome these days. With such an outlandish origin story, it's easy to understand people's fascination with it, though. I totally get that part of it, even though it's
Yeah.
like a harmful concept in terms of psychology. I certainly found the story intriguing, and I definitely learned a lot.
Yeah, sorry, you skipped one of your notes. Kristen actually remained friends with Clark later in life.
Yes, she did.
That's cool.
Yeah, the documentary thing that I watched, she holds up this photo of Clark with her kid, like Clark's holding her kid. So they meet up later in life, and they're buddies, and they're both like, man, we were in this fucking situation together and it sucked, but yeah, they were friends.
That's so sweet. That's what Stockholm Syndrome does to you.
An evil condition, and anybody who has it is terrible.
That's genuinely adorable. I also like Clark was kind of held hostage too. I'm gonna say it, man. Like, yeah, he was a criminal, but like, dog, he didn't want to be there. Jan was the real mastermind here.
That's the craziest aspect. I can't fucking believe they pulled him out of prison and put him in the bank robbery and then tried to charge him with bank robbery.
I just imagine like he like gets there. They haven't told him anything. They put a gun in his hand. They put a vest on him and a helmet. They go, all right,
go get him, buddy.
And he's like, who the fuck? Oh, he just like, he hates this. He's like, my fucking cellmate. Fuck.
He doesn't know it's Jan until he gets in there, and he's like, this fucking idiot. You pulled me out of prison for this shit. I was going to escape next week.
What a fucking crazy story. I'm so glad to know that just like the nature of Stockholm Syndrome itself, I never really took it that seriously. And now it's good to know that I should continue that trend. I should still not take it very seriously.
I don't think I ever thought to think about it much harder than just kind of understanding what it was. But the whole story surrounding it and the connotation of the non-diagnosis is also really interesting.
Yeah, dude, fucking cop psychiatrists making shit up. That shit sucks. I hate that.
All right.
See ya. God damn it.
Every
fucking time. You can follow us on Koolaid _stand _podcast on Instagram. You can subscribe to us at Koolaid Stand on YouTube. You can get the show on Spotify. You can follow us there, or you can watch the show with your eyes closed on YouTube and get audio.
And if you don't follow us, I'm going to put you in prison and then pull you back out of prison and force you to rob a bank and then give you a 10-year sentence.
Yep. All right. Now see ya.